Ernest Shepard from the Outside Analysis, and I want to talk about the draft grade for the Chicago Bears. Now, the Bears came into the 2014 NFL Draft needing help on all parts of the defense. I mean, defensive line help, secondary help, especially the safety position. Also, linebacking help and special teams if they can get their hands on it. Now, they kicked things off drafting a cornerback, Kyle Fuller, out of Virginia Tech. Now, he's supposed to be a cover corner, something that the Bears do not have with the combination of Peanut Tillman and Tim Jennings. Now, don't get me wrong, both Tillman and Jennings are excellent players. Tillman has lost a step, and Jennings is a shade too short at 5'9", 5'8". Now, what Fuller brings to the table, he brings a perfect combination of size and speed. Fuller's 6 feet tall. He ran a 4.5 40. Has excellent ball skills. He should help almost immediately, if not as the nickel corner, at the very least special teams. Now, the Bears, in drafting Fuller, they needed help on the defensive line, and they also needed help at the safety position. They didn't waste too much time, in all honesty. In the second round, they passed on the chance to pick up Louis Nix, a player who I thought was a better fit. Instead, they drafted Igor Ferguson out of LSU. Now, Ferguson, 1-year starter, so he's somewhat inexperienced, but he brings a need to the Bears. Now, if anyone who followed the Bears last season, you know the biggest weakness besides the safety position was run defense. Igor Ferguson is supposed to be a stout run defender, someone that can penetrate up the middle, clog up the middle, close up the running lanes for opposing running backs. Now, if the Bears can get him at his full potential, he kind of will put you in the mind of Tank Johnson, the Tank Johnson that played with the Bears during their run to the Super Bowl in 2005, 2006, and the Cincinnati Bengals version. Now, to follow up the Ferguson pickup, in the third round, they signed Will Sutton. Now, Will Sutton kind of puts you in the mind, and I'm going back to the 2005, 2006 Bears. He kind of puts you in the mind of a Tommy Harris. At 285 pounds, he was very quick, very hard-hitting, up the middle, pass-rushing defensive tackle. At 310 pounds, he honestly lost a step. Now, it's going to be hard to get a gauge on Sutton, depending on what version he is and what playing weight the Bears will have him be at that certain time. If he is the same guy who came in or who comes in weighing 285 pounds, he will be a pretty decent pickup for the Bears. Now, bear with me for a moment as I'm trying to get some information here. For some reason, my tablet went to sleep. Now, in the fourth round, they did something that a lot of people didn't expect them to do, and that was draft a running back, Kadeem Carey out of Arizona. Now, Carey supposedly ran a 4.7 40 in the combine. People, please, do not let the combine warriors and the combine numbers fool you. The bottom line is, can he play football? Now, granted, that is yet to be seen, but given that Michael Ford was currently the only other running back on the roster that had a reasonable chance to make the team, the drafting of Kadeem Carey is pretty interesting. It should be pretty good if he pans out. Now, I liken him a little bit to a poor man's Ray Rice, someone who's kind of small, carries 5'9", about 200 pounds, someone who can push for the tough yardage, get up under the defensive linemen, get up under the linebackers. Not a lot of long speed, not a lot of strong burst. Don't expect for him to run up the middle for 40 yards. Don't expect him to take toss sweeps for 40 yards. But he's a guy that's projected to give the Bears something that they've been missing, and that is a running back that's excellent in short yardage situations. Now, over 4,000 yards in the last 2 seasons for Arizona. Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Year. Now, one of my biggest questions about Kerry is the mileage on his legs. Has he run the football too much for the Bears' liking? That remains to be seen. Now, understanding that the Bears needed secondary help and knowing that they drafted Fuller at cornerback, they had yet to draft a safety. So what they ended up doing was trading with the Denver Broncos. They traded away this year's 5th round draft pick and next year's 5th round draft pick for the right to be able to draft Minnesota's Brock Vereen. Now, Vereen, younger brother of Shane Vereen of the New England Patriots, so you know he has the NFL pedigree. The lineage is in him. He was projected to be a possible late 2nd round, 3rd round pick. Has decent size, small hands, so the ball skills might not 100% be there. But at the same time, the Bears didn't lack in playmaking safeties last season with Major Wright and Chris Conte. Whenever they had a chance to be around the ball, they actually made plays. The problem that the Bears had with their safeties was form tackling. And that's something that Vereen's supposed to be good at. So if he's as good as advertised, consider that a problem solved. Now, the rest of the draft makes me want to scratch my head just a little bit, or at least this next pick. And that would be David Fales, quarterback out of San Jose State. Now, if you follow Chicago Bears football, you saw Phil Emery at his press conference. He said there hasn't been a top-notch quarterback, and I'm paraphrasing. There hasn't been a top-notch quarterback that was drafted after the 3rd round since 2006, with one exception of the 2012 NFL Draft with Russell Wilson. So, bucking his conventional wisdom, Phil Emery decided to gamble on Fales, who has excellent accuracy at 6'2". He's reasonable size. He doesn't have a lot of speed, but he's mobile enough to be able to avoid a rush. The question is his arm strength. Now, if his arm strength is there, the Bears got a player. If his arm strength isn't there, then worst comes to worst, the Bears used a late draft pick on him. Not that big of a deal. 6th round draft picks primarily aren't expected to make the team, so when they do, you know that the draft was pretty damn awesome. Another pickup that they made, and it was a pickup that I believe the Bears hit a home run, so to speak. It was a position that they needed, something that will probably go ignored, and that's the position of punter. Adam Potlesh had a dismal season with the Bears last year. Directional kicking was awful. He didn't hit the football inside the 20s like he needed to, and it was time for him to go. The Bears now, before they drafted Pat O'Donnell out of Miami in this draft, 2 punters who one had 1 year experience and the other was an undrafted rookie. Why not take a punter? It's the 6th round. Why not? Punter's supposed to be one of the most vital positions on a football field, which a lot of people don't think that they are, seeing that they don't play as often in the game. But we're talking field position in the city of Chicago, where it's cold, where you want to be able to control the ball. The best way to control the ball, folks, is to have a strong running game, which they have, and a strong special teams game, which without a viable punter that can kick through the wind, I'm sorry, folks, just won't be looking too good. I promise you, you do not want the Bears to go up against the Green Bay Packers giving the Green Bay Packers 30 to 35-yard punts on they're on 45-yard line, 40-yard line. I promise you, that's a recipe for disaster. Therefore, Pat O'Donnell, great pickup. The final pickup of the draft was the 7th-round pick, Charles Lynn out of Boise State. He's listed as offensive tackle. From what I've heard, they're going to look at him at offensive guard. He has pretty decent size. Body is built somewhat like a guard. I can see him being the swing guard, if not the swing tackle, provided he made the team. Now, there are two peculiar moves that happened after the Bears convened their draft, and I mean the undrafted rookie class. One being Northern Illinois' Jordan Lynch. He was a player that I felt like we all should look out for. People knew that Mark Trestman had an affinity for him. Phil Lemery had an affinity for him. Literally, it seems as soon as the draft was over with, the Bears got in contact with Lynch and said, hey, we want to build a package around you. Why don't you come on, sign a deal with us. We'll give you an opportunity to make the team. Now, Lynch came in 3rd in the Heisman voting as a quarterback. The Bears see him as a running back. Me personally, I actually see him in an H-back hybrid kind of mode, running back / tight end, somewhat like a Dallas Clark back in his Indianapolis Colts days. If the Bears can get him to bulk up just a little bit and not lose a lot of his speed, Jordan Lynch may turn out to be a player. The other curious move that the Bears did with the undrafted free agents, signing Florida State's Christian Jones, linebacker. Now, many people question their linebacking depth. We know that Lance Briggs, his contract's up at the end of the season. DJ Williams is on a 1-year deal. You have Shea McClellan. You have John Bostic, 2 unproven players. You have Kasim Green, another unproven player. All those guys have to match at some point in time and come up and develop into a unit. Look out for Christian Jones, folks. He was Florida State's leading tackler this past season. The same team that won the national championship. Bringing that ability to the table. And also being considered a 2nd or 3rd round draft pick. The Bears perhaps got a steal. Now, judging all their drafts, judging the 2 primary undrafted free agents that they picked up, I give the Bears a solid B+. Personally, I feel as though instead of spending another draft pick on a quarterback, why not fill in another spot on the secondary? Bring in a safety, someone who can have a little bit of a competition with the rest of the safeties on the roster. Someone who can challenge Indy Jennings and Chris Conti and Ryan Mundy and can challenge Brock Vereen, just to build competition for competition's sake. If you look at the defensive line, the whole spirit of competition is all up in there. That's all I ask, and that's all we should ask for the Bears secondary. But Phil Lemery decided to do what he decided to do. That's why he gets paid the big bucks. I'm not going to question him. Phil, Mr. Emery, solid B+ from me. Ernest Shepard from the Outside Analysis. Thank you for your time.